Hello, delegates, and welcome to the Parliamentary Procedure, or Parli Pro, segment of HMC 101. My name is Alina Farber.
My name is Jason Mills. Today we'll be going over what Parli Pro is and how to use it.
So to start, we thought we'd give a little bit of background information on what Parli Pro is. It's pretty much a set of governing rules for how to debate in a group setting. It started in English Parliament in the 1560s with Sir Thomas Smith. He was the one who first began writing down the rules and procedures for bill writing.
Parli Pro is used at HMC in committee for consensus making. It can be slightly confusing, but we'll do our best to cover the basics of Parli Pro so that you feel prepared for committee.
We're going to break Parli Pro up into 5 different categories. Those are motions, speeches, points, bills, and full session rules. Let's start with motions.
To introduce a motion, you simply raise your hand and request from your committee chair either a motion to or a motion for. The general motions you can request include motions to caucus, motions to introduce a bill, motion to introduce an amendment, motion to previous question, and motion to set the speakers list. We'll go over all of what these mean shortly.
Okay, so motion to caucus means you're requesting to meet with the other members of your committee to discuss the issue at hand. You can ask for a moderated caucus, and that means you keep everyone at the table and you discuss the issue and your opinions of it as an entire committee. For an unmoderated caucus, you also have to request the exact amount of time you want, and it means you break out, you step away from the table, and you have informal discussions with your fellow delegates. Unmoderated caucuses can either be bipartisan or partisan. Bipartisan is the most frequently used unmoderated caucus, and it means you can talk about the issue with anyone in your committee. In a partisan unmoderated caucus, you can only talk to members of your own party.
Motion to introduce a bill is slightly different. In order to motion to introduce a bill, you need 1/3 of your committee members to agree to the motion.
Motioning for the introduction of an amendment happens after the bill has been read aloud to the entire committee. If you have an issue with a part of the bill or you think it's missing something, you can introduce an amendment or a change to it. You don't have to vote on the introduction of the amendment, and in order to introduce it, you need to write out the change you want to make and pass it up to the committee chair on paper. Before you can actually vote on the bill, the amendment has to be incorporated into it.
Motion to previous question is a vote to take a vote on the bill. In order to vote on a bill, you must have 2/3 of your committee approve the motion to move to previous question.
The last motion is the motion to open or set the speakers list. Speakers lists are like moderated caucuses in the sense that they keep all the delegates together so they can discuss a bill and the bill's pros and cons.
The next part of Parli Pro we're going to talk about is speeches. Speeches ensures that every member of the committee has time to speak and make sure that everyone in the committee listens to them.
There's 3 main forms of speeches: the general speakers list, an authorship speech, and pro-con speeches.
A general speakers list is just a general list where delegates can speak on a certain topic and explain why the topic is important. Authorship is a speech by the delegates who generally drafted the bill, and pro-con speeches are those made by delegates who either see positive parts of a solution or benefits to discussing a certain issue, or they feel negatively about a solution or proposed topic.
After speeches, delegates can yield their remaining time 3 different ways: to the chair, to questions, or to another speaker.
If you yield your time to the chair, the HMC staffer who is chairing will absorb your remaining time, and you will move to the next speaker. If you yield to questions, you open the floor up to questions that will be directed towards you. And if you yield your time to another speaker, you choose another delegate, often someone with a similar opinion, who can add another point to your speech.
So now we're going to talk about points, which are pretty much just questions. There's 4 main points you should be familiar with: the point of personal privilege, point of order, point of information, and point of parliamentary inquiry.
A point of personal privilege refers to going to get water or perhaps using the restroom.
A point of order is like an objection you have. Points of order are usually used if the delegate doesn't think that parliamentary procedure is being used correctly.
A point of information is a request for a fact. Delegates at HMC are not allowed to use phones or computers. However, their committee chairs are allowed to use technology. So, if you have a question about a statistic or any other fact that you may want to be included in your bill or in your speech, then a delegate may request a point of information.
A point of parliamentary inquiry is a question about Parli Pro. If you have any questions as to how it works, if you want to ask for a speakers list, then you can ask for a point of parliamentary inquiry.
We only have bills and full session rules left to talk about, so hang tight, you're almost there.
So we talked about bills in one of the other HMC 101 videos, but we should still review the Parli Pro side of bills.
As a refresher, a bill is a proposed solution to the issues introduced in your briefing topics. Bills often lay out a very specific solution and solve any possible problems that may arise from the solution. For example, funding or accessibility.
Each bill requires 8 signatures, but it might be the case that just because a delegate signs a bill, they don't necessarily support it.
For a bill to pass, it needs a simple majority in your committee and in full session. If you introduce a constitutional amendment, you need a 2/3 vote.
So last but not least, we're going to talk a bit about full session rules.
A full session refers to an entire House or Senate meeting. In full sessions, you will go down to the floor with your committee and meet with members of all other committees to listen to the different bills that have passed in their small committees.
Points and motions are pretty much the same in full session, but it is different in a couple key ways.
The differences are that all motions must be made in writing. 2 pro and 2 con speeches must be given before moving to previous question, and there are no amendments that can be introduced in full session.
We know that sounds like a lot, but we promise that once you get to the conference and see it executed, it's going to make a lot more sense. Your chairs will also always be there to field questions about Parli Pro and help you get into the swing of it.
Thanks for watching.